Hello, good afternoon. My name is Herve SALKIN. I'm French, 67 years old. I graduated in Paris with two engineering school, École Polytechnique and School of Mines. And after graduation, I joined the oil and gas industry in Europe and Africa with French and US multinational companies. I got few assignments in the field of techniques, marketing, and management. Then in 2000, I came back to higher education and I joined a French business school and then another engineering school. And in 2012, I decided to set up my own business. The name is Campus Globe. You can find me on the web. So it's a service activity with two main businesses. One is teaching. So I'm just used to teach in Europe and Africa, just kind of doing with you now. And the other activity is consultancy. So I'm providing services to universities in the world, universities who are willing to expand and have some deployment of international relations. Okay, can you check?
Perfect. Perfect.
It's good, yeah? Okay. Hello, good afternoon. My name is Herve SALKIN. I'm French. I'm 67 years old. I studied in Paris engineering with two famous schools. One is École Polytechnique, and the other one is École des Mines, School of Mines. After graduation, I joined the oil and gas industry with a French and then a US multinational company. I was based in Europe and Africa, and I had several assignments in the technical field, in marketing and in management. Then in 2000, I came back to higher education and I joined a French engineering school and then a French business school till 2012. And in 2012, so 12 years ago, I realized my dream, which was to set up my own business. So I created a Campus Globe. You can find me on the web. It's a service company with two key activities. One is teaching, so like I'm used to do with you now. I used to be invited as a visiting professor in Europe and in Africa. And the other activity is a consultancy. So I used to assist some universities in their development and in their international relations strategy. So you see, I got my entrepreneurship experience during my career. I didn't learn entrepreneurship at school, but I've been exposed recently to this challenge of setting up my own business. And when I was employee with my companies in the oil and gas industry, I had sometimes the opportunity to run projects. For instance, once I've been in charge of setting up a new subsidiary in Equatorial Guinea, which is an oil-rich African country. And this experience was very similar to entrepreneurship because I had to look at the market conditions, the client, the competitors. So this course, you will learn main marketing and management tools needed when you set up your own business. I will also talk about innovation, and I will share with you new innovation techniques that are now used by corporations around the world. And I will give you also some very practical data about the writing of a business plan. Talking about business plan, business plan is a document that you should consider whenever you start your own business. The first interest of such document is that it will help you to convince investor or bank to lend you some money, because unfortunately, whenever you start a new business, very often you need some money and you don't have enough money in your pocket to start your business. So you need to gather all arguments and in order to convince a partner to cooperate in your project. Business plan, if you go on the web, you will find a lot of templates. And here I put the US business plan 27 pages template. And usually this business plan, they are structured with what is mentioned on the slide here. You start with a small introduction. Then you will describe yourself, who you are. You will need to convince the person that you are the right person for this project. You describe briefly your project in chapter 3. Chapter 4, you will talk about the product and market environment. Chapter 5, you will talk about strategy of your business. 6, revenue forecast. Usually you will communicate and you will propose some sales data over the next 3 years or over the next 5 years. So it's a 36 months forecast or 60 months forecast for revenues. Chapter 7 is a marketing mix. Marketing mix is a concept of 4 P's, so price, promotion, place, and product. Chapter 8, you will define which assets do you need, which human assets, which equipment do you need in this particular inventory to start your business. This is chapter 8. 9, you will present all the accounting data, so balance sheets, income statement, all the financial data around your project, and then you have a small conclusion. Sometimes you will see also business model canvas. It's similar to a business plan. This is a way to structure your project in different sections that you don't forget any important aspect for the creation of your company. So as I mentioned, this document is quite useful for convincing a partner, but also it's very educative document, because then it will force you to ask a lot of different questions, and you will not forget anything in your preparation. So it's better that to avoid any bad surprise, short term or medium term. So that with this document, you have to go through all the details of your project. First chapter in the business plan after introduction is you have to introduce yourself, and the key point is, are you really the right person to run this project? Are you an entrepreneur? Do you have the right skills to be successful in your project? And here I put some pictures of some very famous entrepreneurs. So you most certainly recognize Steve Jobs on the top right part of the slide. So he did really a very great job with Apple. 2007 he introduced the iPhone, so he was in competition with the smartphone vendors like Motorola or Nokia at that time, and he managed to grab a significant market share and also a very important profit share, because if you look at iPhone sales in the world, the market share, let's say, is average. I think is depending on countries around 20-25%, but the profit share. So Apple is really making a lot of money because they have a very good marketing mix, and they manage to have a huge margin out of each iPhone which is sold around the world. On the top left, you can maybe recognize this English businessman, which is Peter Dyson, who I think is one of the richest men in the UK, and he built his fortune on vacuum cleaner. Vacuum cleaner is a very simple equipment, very basic equipment at home, but he had really the brilliant idea to design a vacuum cleaner without any paper bag, and this is very convenient, very pleasant for someone who are using a vacuum cleaner, not to have to worry about the paper bag, which might be full of dust, or when you have to replace it is really a pain. And so he had this clever idea to change the design of the vacuum cleaner, and he built a fortune from the vacuum cleaner. Bottom left, you have Jack Ma, the founder of Alibaba. Again, a very nice success story in China. This guy started, he was just an English teacher near Hangzhou in his Chinese province. And he had the belief that internet would really change the retail business in the world in the 80s, 90s. And he built his Alibaba empire, so at that time. And on the bottom right, I put Olivier Bossan, who is the founder of L'Occitane. L'Occitane, 40 years ago, was founded in Provence, in southeastern France. It's a company making perfumes, so typical perfumes from Provence with a lavender smell. And now is on top of 10,000 employees, multinational companies. L'Occitane is sold in most airports in the world, and he really managed to grow his business from a family-size company to a multinational company. So, but these examples really are not always the actual situation, because here I put the risk to fail. You see, this is the survival rate of new firms. And you see you have two graphs, the blue one and the red one. blue is the US, and red is Switzerland. And you can see that after 4 or 5 years, you have a 50% survival rate, which means that 50% of the new firms will simply go bankrupt. So it means the entrepreneurship is really a risky business. You have a high chance of failing. So this is why it's very important really to prepare the project as good as possible, and to put really all the arguments with you before starting and starting the business. So, what are the skills to succeed? What are the required skills? And so here I put a few skills to me which are quite important, and I will relate with the 4 entrepreneurs that I showed before. You see, self-confidence and motivation. This was really a very strong skill of Jack Ma. And Jack Ma in the 80s had very negative comments, critics about his project. A lot of people were telling him that internet would not be able to replace the big retail shops like Walmart in the US. But Jack Ma was convinced that it would be the case, and the experience history tells us that he was right. But he had a lot of negative criticism when he started his business. So you see, he had really high self-confidence and motivation. Steve Jobs, for me, is a good example of effort and responsibility. Steve Jobs, when you start your business, you're alone or with a small team, and you make very important decision on how you will do your business. And Steve Jobs decided to his concept of international supply chain, just keeping at home marketing, R&D, and sales, and subcontracting the whole production and logistics of the product. So it was quite a risky decision. But it proved to be very successful because, as you know, Apple is making a very high profit every year. So this is a responsibility which was very, very successful for him. Dyson, I put really Dyson in front of initiative. Dyson had this intuition of a paper vacuum cleaner without any paper bag, and it was really a big initiative from him, and it turned to be very successful. And Olivier Bosson, I put in front of team spirit and efficiency, because he managed to grow his small family business in Provence, in France. And when he's asked, why did you succeed? His first answer usually is the quality of his employees, of the team spirit within L'Occitane employees was really great. And this was very helpful to succeed. So this is the end of session 1, lesson 1 of entrepreneurship. Thank you.